Here we go.
It's going, it's going.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
I didn't get y'all phones.
Get in your,
Not this one.
get on the mark. For God's sake.
Okay, you can get him, that's good. Okay.
Ready on cue.
I must say that over the years, I have made dozens, if not hundreds, of presentations as a teacher or as a clinician or what have you. This one has taken more of my gut and my time than any presentation I've ever made. The reason being that the memories just flood in. You know, it's sort of like going to a creek bed and going to sleep on the bank, hoping that you could sleep, not knowing there was a flood coming down. It was unreal. So, my time with the Hugh Fowler band was absolutely amazing. I agree so heavily with what Chuck shared about the fact that he treated the band people with such respect and so on and so forth. And I can remember writing for the band because when I got in, Billy Ainsworth was getting in at the same time. And we compared notes on it. Hugh would start every job with a dance band book, and I can't remember where the book came from. Maybe one of you does. And by the way, how many of you have a copy of Hugh the Night in the Music, that album? Okay, just a few. Well, then the clips that you're going to hear will be new to you. But we decided that even though the book was very well written, it was written for parties and so on in the late 40s and early 50s. And it was dance music, you know, which is fine. But we wanted to do something else because of the people who were in the band, so we started writing arrangements for the band. And the fact that we never charged Hugh a cent for any of those because it was fun to do this. It was fun to be in the band playing the kind of music that the band wanted to play. After about a year, about every other gig, I would sit down on the end where second trombone would sit and look under the stand and do me a bottle of scotch. You know, and Billy would do the same thing. I don't know whether it is or scotch or bourbon or what. And the first time that happened, I just leaned back to my chair and laughed out loud. I didn't know what I was laughing about. But it was a gigging band, and we loved it. And the first thing I want to play for you is one of the charts that we had in the book. This is Witchcraft.
It's not on here, babe. It's not on here. Is it in the album?
picture of the performance band, which was different than, in some ways, than the band that you just heard. The performance band, all I can say about the performance band was being on the stage with those people and playing and hearing Kenny Winslet, for instance, going up into the stratosphere like only Kenny could, and Billy doing amazing kinds of things. It was a trip. I loved it, and I would turn down anything to be on whatever gigs came up. You know, even the only thing that I couldn't turn down was a symphony rehearsal or symphony gig, because I'd lose my contract. That would be a drag. You know? Not that much of a drag. I think the performance band was really a lot of fun. I want. Are you going to talk about the traveling and the bus to Wichita Falls?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had so much fun on traveling with this band, because Hugh would be sure that the bus was loaded with snacks, with drinks, with water, and so on and so forth. And once in a while, something would go on with the traveling band that nobody had counted on. And Billy will tell you about this one.
I'd like to say about Kenny, by the way, that I think Cliff and I both would have played free just to sit next to Kenny. I'll pass this around. This is on the highway on the way to Oklahoma, I think it was. It may have been Wichita Falls, I don't know. The bus had a flat, right? And this isn't funny in the retelling so much, but it was so hilarious at the time. The bus driver gets out and he gets the tools out to change the tire, okay? And it's rusted or something, he can't get it off, and 10 minutes later, he said, guys, I can't get this tire off. What are we gonna do? Everybody in the band took a turn trying to get those lugs off. Nothing. We were there for half an hour thinking, well, we missed that gig. We were near some little town, apparently, and there was an old Indian standing there watching all this. And
like
somebody took a picture. The Indian isn't in there. But he stood there and he looked at everybody. Everybody tried to get the tire off. He went with his finger. Mmm. Mmm. And the bus driver, I can't remember his name, but he was a little bitty guy, and he was just so embarrassed. And the tire came right off, and we made our merry way.
Gigging with the band was fun. If all the stories that could be told about the gigs of that band and the hilarious things, if we told them all, we'd be here until dinner time. Really. So I think that what I would like to do would be to move to the recording band, because that's what we're going to hear mostly, is snippets from the things that were actually recorded. And this was the band that did the recording. And there are some people on there that are different from the names that you're used to hearing, which is okay. But the Jack Rumley was not only such a drummer, but a person. I mean, he was really one of these guys that you could tell him anything and it was well received, and he had a little quip for you and so on and so forth. We loved him, and that was the way that this band was put together. And it was the album, Hugh the Night and the Music, was recorded at International Recording, or IRI, and with the inimitable Bill Jones on the keyboard. Yeah. You want to talk to us about it?
No, louder.
Why don't you tell us something about the recording?
Oh, it was a delight.
But I think the neatest thing of all was that somebody passed the word around and said, hey, this is real important. You know, get this down. So how about no using and no booze, okay? Until we get it all done. And it was, I think, taken care of pretty well. In fact, it was the first time that everybody understood what the notes were in saxophobia. They'd always been in the third set. Here they are straight, you know. I said, oh my God, where'd that come from? You know? The most wild thing of all, and you guys used to steal the arrangements out of the book, one or two at a time, get in so we could have to record, right? Oh, man, these guys really did a job on getting these arrangements up and the whole thing, and slide it back into the book. Hugh comes on for his birthday, comes in through the door, and he hears his music. He's just starting to get furious. He says, who in the hell stole my arrangements? And he didn't calm down for what, about 15 minutes when he finally decided.
That was at the party.
Yeah, at the party. Oh man, it was such a great thing to have the guys do that stuff, you know. And it was just a thrill. It was a big thrill. Yeah.
The arrangement that he's talking about, just we heard shortly after it was recorded, in a different session altogether, not the party, but the recording session itself. For the first time, because this one was written for the recording session, we had never done it in performance until it had been recorded. So the first time it came up in performance, about halfway through, when the soloing going on, Hugh made this statement. He was standing over next to the end where I sat. He said, "Wow, that sounds like it'd been rehearsed." And I just, it was all I could do to keep from cracking up when he said that. The vocals that, when Dick Cole and Bonnie Claire did vocals, both of those people had a way of engaging the audience, like vocalists that I had never heard before, never seen. And it was sort of like it came off of Hugh's desk, because Hugh was a band leader that had this very unique ability to understand the brains of the people who were in the audience, what they were dancing to, and so on and so forth. That, I mean, I've been on bands before, and the leaders are always good to kick off well, they choose good tunes, but Hugh would be up there and he was imagining what the audience was thinking, what they would like, what they would not like, and so his choice of tunes to play and the order in which they were being played was just amazing, amazing. And when the vocals came up, the vocals were absolutely amazing as well, because especially Bonnie, she would get up there and she would look at the audience and smile while she was singing, you know, and it was a big deal. So this is Saxophobia. Oh, we've already heard Saxophobia.
No, we haven't heard of it. No, we skipped.
Oh.
Paris, who takes the credit for the arrangement?
Yeah,
Who did that?
I did.
Okay, way to go.
Yeah. Well, that arrangement and many others at that time caused me to remember my experience in the U.S. Army when I was in the 4th Army Band. I got there in the month of November of a year, and the next January, we had a new CO. And I can remember, as if it were last week sometime, I was in the room playing pool with the Master Sergeant, a dear friend, and somebody came in and said, "Hey, Paris." I said, "Yeah, the old man wants to see you." Okay, so I've had my uniform on. I walked into the commander's office, stood like this and said, "Yes, sir." And so he said, "Relax." Okay. "I understand that you write music." I said, "Yes, sir." "Well, get busy. You've got a radio show." You know, and the way you said it, I realized that, good, this is a very good opportunity for me, but if it doesn't make it the way he wants it to make, I will cling to the trains the rest of my life. So I did whatever was necessary, and some of the stuff that you heard in saxophone came from that kind of a mindset. You know, it's got to be something that will reach out and search and kill. Ernie, you were on the band at the time. Did you want to tell us something about that?
Well, I just subbed a lot. I was sitting thinking, I wound up subbing with Larry Mahoberite quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
He was playing piano. And also, I was going to tell you, I ran into Rosemary Rumley a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah.
She said, tell you she's sorry she missed your presentation, but she could really tell you some stories about that. And Hugh, we were laughing. Hugh and I were great friends. We hunted and fished together a lot because he was a great outdoorsman. That's how I spent most of my time with Hugh. He was an exceptional fellow.
Very cool.
Here comes Bonnie. I'm ahead of myself. I've already done the vocals, so I won't repeat it. But Bonnie, isn't it a lovely day?
Here's a picture of the band. Lovely Bonnie is there.
Isn't it a lovely day to be caught in the rain? You were going on your way, now you've got to remain. Just as you were going, leaving me all at sea, the clouds broke, they broke, and oh, what a break for me. I can see the sun up high, though we're caught in a storm. I can see where you and I could be cozy and warm. Let the rain pitter patter, but it really doesn't matter if skies are gray. Long as I can be with you, it's a lovely day. can see where you and I could be cozy and warm. Let the rain pitter patter, but it really doesn't matter if skies are gray. Long as I can be with you, it's a lovely day. It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day.
You know, one of the things that really impressed me with Bonnie was her sense of pitch. She could hit a note that was a little bit under the pitch, and immediately, boy, it sailed up into where it needed to be. It was amazing. Dick was the same way. We had times that I don't know what to say about Dick Cole, except Dick Cole was Dick Cole. You know, he had a way of dealing with things that I've never come up with myself. A champion in every way. I can remember the first time I ever heard him was at a job that a band, not the Hugh Fowler band, but a different band was playing at SMU when I think I was in my freshman year at SMU. And here the band's there, and we're doing our thing in the big hall like that. It was kind of a dance thing. And one of his solos went up to the high F over the staff, over the treble clef, even one of those things up there. And he did it so effortlessly. I was a composer, and I said, I've got to have that. You know, I've got to learn how to do that. That's where I want to go, you know. So he was a mentor, a friend, and everything. This is Dick on, and Kenny Winslet on Fools Rush In. Oh, by the way, that last one and this one are both written, arranged by Betty Ainsworth.
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread, and so I come to you, my love, my heart above my head. Though I see the danger there, if there's a chance for me, then I don't care. Fools rush in where wise men never go, but wise men never fall in love. So how are they to know? When we met, I felt my life begin. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. men never fall in love. So how are they to know? When we met, I felt my life begin. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in.
Yeah.
About 1,000 stories are running through my head. But Dick Cole was, he was kind of our everything. I remember one night, or often he would come up to do his vocal, and he'd do the peg leg, walk out on the stage like this. And, this was after 2 or 3 hours of playing. Everybody was drunk, so it didn't matter. But I can still see Dick coming up to the microphone to sing like that. But he was our spark plug. He not that the others weren't, but I've said so much about Kenny. But Cole played the lead trombone. He played the jazz trombone. He sang the vocals, and he was constant clown. There was never a silent moment on that bandstand. You could hear Dick down the aisle doing something, talking about something. So he was just perpetual motion for the band. And then a little bitty guy. Something.
Paris?
Yes.
Yeah, Dick, you know, Dick, I knew Dick first at CRC. Bill Jones and I were reporting at CRC, and of course Dick was in the group singing, and Dick most of the time sang lower baritone than bass, and of course he always sang on the band mostly a high baritone, almost tenor sometimes. But the funny thing is, Dick had the ear, you know, and the amazing thing was he mentioned to me one time. I wrote a chart for him, and I had the chord symbols. He said, "I don't know about the chord symbols. I don't read. I don't know." His ear. He knew everything. He heard everything harmonically, just instinctively, and he didn't have to have any chord symbols.
Dick's line about that was, "Don't give me any alphabet jazz, man." He played it by ear. He knew the tunes, and he found those notes that nobody else.
Even if he didn't know a tune, he could hear it.
Found those notes that nobody else found. But don't give me any alphabet jazz.
Were you the one that said he was self-taught trombonist?
He had a couple of lessons with Ernest Clark, but only
2.
Yeah, just a couple. He's had natural ability.
There was something else. These pictures that you see here have very little to do with the Hugh Fowler band, but they have everything to do with the careers that the people in the band had in addition to playing at night and so on and so forth. These are, like Harvey Anderson was such a friend and such a musical hero. And those of you who knew Harvey would understand why I use that phrase. These are pictures taken in recording sessions because the jingle industry had just really gotten underway when Hugh's band was flourishing, you know. And you see Harvey there, you see Dick, and some of the other people.
John Osborne and me in that session.
Yeah,
That was
Billy
Summit Burnett.
down on the left.
That's Don's session.
There are other stories to tell about Billy Ainsworth, but that's a good picture of him at the moment. There's Harvey again.
That's Wally. That's Wally.
Oh, that's Wally. Everybody says that's Wally, isn't
Yeah.
Wally.
That's Wally.
Yes.
Roberts.
What did I say?
Harvey.
Harvey.
That's Wally.
That's Wally.
Yeah, I knew him.
There's, this is
Thanks,
his son,
Mark.
you should know.
That's my dad, I know.
It's his son. It's his son.
Mark is his son.
Wally.
That's him.
All right.
You should know.
I won't call him Holly anymore.
Yeah.
There were some of them, it was fun in those recording sessions playing with headphones on, because you never did that outside of the recording session, and it was difficult getting used to hearing what, not only what you were doing, but what other people were doing at the same time. And I think that I and others likely found out after, a couple of years of doing that, that if I had my better ear with and my less than good ear without the headphones, it was a much better mix. I could hear what was going on, and I could hear what the engineers were saying. And again, our friend over here will be able to talk about all sorts of nonsense with headphones and everything.
You hated them. You hated earphones.
I know.
Because you played sharp. That's the damnedest thing. You had an ear, was built, and for some reason or other, with the headsets on, you said, oh, that's not right, man, that's not right.
Well, it wasn't.
Remember the story about Wally when he was playing his oboe, and you fooled with it. Remember that story with the turn?
The first time we got the variable pitch thing, and we thought this would be great because we're gonna lay on the woodwinds and then the strings later on. And so this is great, to take this harmonizer, and the tempo's the same, and Anshel was on that section too. Oh my goodness. And you dropped out, Peggy dropped out, and everybody else dropped out. And Angel's just going away and playing away. He says, that's really cute. I took it up a whole 2 steps. And he stayed right with it. Says, that's cute.
Yeah. And then there's Billy.
Well, now.
I found out about Billy Ainsworth that some of you may know this. I didn't know it until a couple of days ago. When he was 17, he was hired to play lead alto and flute with the Tyler Dorsey Traveling Band. Wow. 17, you know. I mean, no wonder he had a head, you know. This is him at age 20. I got this from his daughter. What a champion Billy Ainsworth was in so many ways. The recording industry, as I mentioned before, as you all know, funded so many of our lives with opportunities and so on and so forth. I think of Pam's, who claims to have been the first company to ever do radio jingles like that. They were not, but that's what they claimed, and who can say no? My memory of Pam's includes the November the 22nd, 1963 date that we had. It was a 2 o'clock date. And as I pulled into the parking lot, all sorts of the players were out in the parking lot, and the U.S. Box had already made the mandate that if you're not there 15 minutes before the session, if you're not in the place with your acts ready to go 15 minutes before, and if the session runs late, you pay for the overage. Well, guess where everybody was 15 minutes before the date. But Pan, so the fact that people are outside, and it was about 20 minutes before the date, I thought, wow, what's going on? So I parked, got my axe out, and asked, what's happening? What's everybody hitting me for? And they said, well, we just heard that at 1 o'clock, the president was assassinated on that day, you know. And kind of leaned back and think, assassinated, come on. And so we went inside, and we were sitting down at 2 o'clock, like we should be. And Bill Miggs comes out into the control room, or not the control, but the recording room, and said, "Listen, I know that the news that we have heard is catastrophic, and I know that you all would rather not be playing, but I've asked from the bottom of my heart, please finish this session for us, because if we don't finish this today, we will lose the client." Well, nobody could do that, and so we played, and it was probably the best, most energetic session that I've ever been on in my life. Yeah.
This one is over on Fairmont? Was this when Pam's was on Fairmont, I think?
No, Pam's was
Office Parkway, Office Parkway.
not Fitzhugh.
They had two studios, one's on Fitzhugh and one's on Broad.
Well, it was the one north of town, north of the downtown area.
Yeah,
Whatever that was.
off of, below Fitzhugh and off of Capitol,
Yeah.
like across streets over
Yeah,
there.
whatever that one was. Then CRC was Tom Merriman and Tom Lloyd, Tommy Gwynn. We're running short of time. I could tell you stories about those guys that are still fun for me. The one that cracks me up the most is remembering Tom Lloyd being a French horn player that went to school the same time that I did at SMU. And in his junior year, he purchased a new car. And SMU, the McFarland Auditorium, if you've been there, it has this driveway or street that goes up that way and in front of the hall. Well, we would park along here and park in front and so on. And the dean would always park in a reserved place right in front. So here Tommy Lloyd comes up, I can't remember, I think it was a brand new, very flashy Oldsmobile. Parks there, he gets out and goes into the classes and so on and so forth. Well, the very next day, the dean could not take that, so he went and purchased a new Cadillac. So he and his Cadillac were in the front end because of what Tommy had done. And RI, such a special place, man. Such a special place. Bonnie Claire Hale at the time, not only a wonderful secretary, but a very close friend. And she took such good care of Hugh. Hugh could care less about having a clean office. You know, that was not his bag. His bag was getting gigs and taking care of clients and taking care of the musicians and so on. Bonnie took care of it all. And she was a friend, not only for me, but for so many. And I would visit and play piano for her while she sang, because I wanted to see what tunes she liked, you know, because I would then, if I found one that I liked as well, we'd do a chart for the band with her singing. Well, here's one that, This Is All I Ask is a ballad that changed my life. We did that one, and I said, that is absolutely fantastic. What a wonderful song. Would you like me to do a chart on that? She said, no. I said, why not? He said, because it's too special. It's too special. I don't want to do this for the band. It's too special to me. You know, I have to keep it to myself. And so I said, cool. But then about 15 years later, I decided, because by that time I was arranging vocals for a publication, I had to do one on that too. Yeah.
Can I just interject? When Bonnie passed away, Don Selden asked Paris to play for her service, and this was one of the two pieces he asked for. I think that's actually how Paris found it, was at her service. I sang it and Paris played, and
so we didn't do that with her.
No.
So she has memory.
But it was super special, and because of the connection with Bonnie, and because it was such a favorite song. I mean, that's got to be like your favorite song if you want people to remember that when you're gone. It was very dear to Paris, and so then he arranged it for, I think, for jazz singers at North Texas, and for Hal Leonard, and for his now group, The New Collection. So lots of people could fall in love with Bonnie's song all over again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soft-spoken men, speak a little softer when you speak to me. Lingering sunsets, stay a little longer with the lonely sea. Children everywhere, when you shoot at that man, shoot at me. Take me to that strange enchanted land. Grown-ups seldom understand. Wandering rainbows leave a little color for my heart to walk. Stars in the sky make my wish come true before the night has flown. And let the music play and play as long as there's a song to sing. And I will stay younger than spring. Wandering rainbows, leave a little color for my heart to own in spring. And I will stay younger than spring.
Yeah. And let the music play, and I will stay younger than spring. That was their stuff right there. Well, we're about out of time. I want to go ahead and just, the offices that they had in downtown, just north of the downtown area. It was on Ruth and McKinney. This is what their office area looks like now. And leave it up to you to be followed by a rambunctious restaurant, you know, a place where people get there and they hang out and they're intense and blah, 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 blah. Because that's the way that the offices were when it was not that kind of a building, but a dirty square building. But even at that, the little building, the small building thing on top to the left, that still remains from the original. That was where Hugh and Bonnie would go upstairs, go across the little fence thing, and go in that. It was a 1.5 bedroom little apartment and they would hang out there, have fun, if you know what I mean. And that was their hideaway, you know, and it's still there, which is very special to me. And when they moved way out. How many of you know where the out of town Fowler things were? Have you been there?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
just a
did,
couple
yeah.
of us. If over here is where Highway 80 meets Lawson Road, and then down Lawson to East Sain, there was at the end of Sain Road, there were all kinds of large estates and so on and so forth. And they had some way of getting one of them. And these are the kind of sites that you would see. I couldn't, Lynn and I couldn't drive up and see what the existing house is like now because we didn't know the people that were impolite. But up at the top where the trees are on the other side, they would have this this marvelous two-story affair with all kinds of little things to the side and so on and so forth. And the special thing about the outside area of the domain was the fact that Hugh and Don Selden and some other people would take this amended vehicle called automobile. And as I remember, it used to be an automobile. It was never a pickup. Now, if anybody has seen that,
Ernie's probably rode in it.
Yeah, we could shoot quail out of that thing.
Huh?
We could shoot quail out of that.
Yeah. But wasn't it a car that had been chopped?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the back seat turned around like
Right.
that. Yeah. And so they would get out in these fields, you know, with two people with shotguns driving around shooting whatever there was that could be shot, you know. And only Hugh Fowler would dream up something like that. Oh, me. And last of all, this, right after the album was recorded, when we played Saxophobia again, we have a brief thing in.
Can we hear it?
You can see what happened on the last chord.
Really?
And Cliff and I looked at each other, I mean, what can you say? Because the audience was probably drunk and didn't know that. So my last words for this presentation is live long and prosper. Thank you very much.
We have a couple of minutes if somebody else wants to say something. Jack does.
Yeah, I wanted to mention a conversation I had with Harold Burgess, who was one of the original members.
Oh, yeah.
This week, I talked to Harold. He's now 91. He lives in Hideaway out in East Texas. And, you know, I really wanted him to come today, but he said it's day to day and he didn't feel like he could make it. But anyway, he had lots of interesting stories. He played with the band when it was still a 7-piece band, so before the big band. And he mentioned a date. He thought it was somewhere in 58 or 59 where they played, the small group played at Dallas Country Club, and then they were out in the parking lot drinking afterwards and started talking about a big band. And he said, well, we'd have to have a baritone sax because those stocks were Jack Mason stocks.
Jack Mason.
Jack Mason stocks, and it was a tenor band for 7 pieces. And he said, we'd have to have a baritone. So Hugh went and bought a baritone sax. And Nick Moeller played baritone, Paul James, alto. He said it would be either Billy Ainsworth or Doc, Gene Hall. Dick and Paris on trombones, Kenny George chair, Cliff Hahn or Billy McDonald on third trumpets. Don Selden was the drummer. Russ Williams was the bass player back then when the band first started. Later, Jack Rumbly replaced Don Selden. And anyway, also as part of that conversation, when they said we need to have a baritone, we also need charts. So everybody starts writing, writing for the band. He had another story, which he said it's not really that happy of a story, but somebody had passed away and the band was playing at Luann's, like a jazz concert at Luann's. And Harold said he had written this chart on Mac the Knife, and Bonnie sang it. And the last chorus, everybody starts jamming out and everything. And then he said that the ending he wrote it kind of like Lulu's Back in Town, the ending of the chart, and it ended on with George on a high D and with the option of going to a high F. So George hits the high D and went up to the F, and Kenny went up above him. And he said, George did not like that. And he said they probably didn't speak again after that. And I've heard that story before. And I've heard about that. And he said they continued, you might have been there, but he said they continued to play gigs. They just never talked much after that.
I think that's when I came on the scene.
Was it? Oh,
my first gig with Fowler was at Fair Park, and George Cherub was playing lead then. The rest of the 10 years or so was Kenny was on. I remember finishing that gig, and I said, George, you sure played good lead. And he looked at me and he said, well, Billy, wait till you hear Kenny. I thought, I'll never forget that. Who?
Anyway.
I later saw Kenny he finally came on the band. George, I think they may have split somehow.
Yeah, they did.
And Kenny played the rest of the time.
Yeah. And George ended up leading.
And I just, here's this
We couldn't hire them together.
giant figure that I hear about, Kenny Winslet. So I go to the first gig, and Kenny was coming on the band, and this little guy comes in. He has these wire glasses, and he's carrying a cornet like he was a CPA or something. I thought, that's the giant Kenny Winslet, and he later proved that, of course, but it was something.
I remember Kenny carrying his horn in a
paper bag.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't want anybody to know he was a musician.
Oh.
That's what he was
That's
saying.
what I heard.
If I know he's a musician.
Me and Peyton Park.
So
Judy said it was.
if I could get a picture of everybody that played on Hugh's band together, I'm going to take it and show it to Harold. So.
The survivors.
Those are great stories. Thanks for sharing those. Those are great.
Well, Chuck Fisher played on the band a lot as well at one time. Of course, Wally played some. Bob Peck was playing tenor for a time.
E.C. Brazil sat in occasionally.
E.C. played on it a lot too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Judy had some.
Well, I just wanted to say, I brought a book when Harris was going to present this. I inherited Lamar Kemp's, all of his instruments, and also this scrapbook that's up on the table. It has probably 30 or 40 pictures like this. I don't know most of these musicians. You probably do. I thought maybe some of Hugh Fowler's would have been in there. I don't even know that maybe they are, but I brought that so that you all could look. You will know a lot of these people. They're amazing. We lost him a couple of years ago, but he was a great guy.
I thought of a Billy Ainsworth story when you were talking about Billy. I can't vouch for the authenticity of this, but supposedly when Billy was still a teenager, a young guy on the band, Dorsey came over one time to the band and said, "You're sharp." Billy said, "Oh, nobody plays as sharp as you do." And he got fired, but sometime later, they got another guy. Sometime later, the manager called Billy up and said, "The old man wants you to come back on the band." Billy said, "Tell him to call me."
Oh, wow.
Well, did anybody inherit the book, or is it just not?
Hugh Fowler Jr. had the book later, and he was kind of a goofy guy. He told me
Good trumpet player.
that the book was in his trunk of his car, and somebody stole the car, or broke in and stole the book, and just broke my heart. I know one more Billy Ainsworth.
Yeah.
That's Jim.
We were at the not the Statler, the other Sheridan, and we were waiting to go in to play. It was a convention or something.
That's Gil.
And this drop dead chick walks out. I mean, she just, one of these unbelievable figures. And Billy Ainsworth just, he follows her clear out of the hotel. He was just mesmerized by that beautiful woman. And so you had to know Billy. I mean, oh gosh. And but he was something else. And another time we started kidding Billy. He was going to stand up and play something, and we yelled, "Billy, play that in F sharp." And he did on his alto. It wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter.
Well, I think we owe Paris a big round of applause.
Very good.
We'll see you next month.
Yeah, everybody, please get over here for a picture for Jack.
Stop this.